you have an AI dermatologist that you've built in your company. Help me square if my cousin's in medical school right now to be a dermatologist, how are they going to pay out their student loans?
This is my take on AI.
Ish, where should I position? What do I tell my kids to study when they're in college? Because this is problematic.
I think what AI enables us to do is get rid of the boring 40-hour work week. If you're trying to make ends meet, your 40-hour work week is going to take over your entire life, and you don't have time to play piano and go with your band and do the things that you love.
Yeah.
Now, what if we took that 40-hour work week away and you actually had the space to do the thing that you were put here to do?
Are we going to have a massive wave of depression?
I think humans are really resilient. And we've seen this before. This isn't new, right? When the internet came about, there was always going to be a transition that happens, and there's always going to be some hard parts of what that transition looks like, and some folks that unfortunately get a short end of the stick when that transition is happening. The jobs of the future look very different, so we're not going to have spreadsheet jobs and you're writing emails all day, and people's day-to-day is going to look very different. But I actually hope that it's a happier society because we're actually compensating people for doing things that they love.
Human knowledge and learning how to do stuff isn't really important anymore.
The folks that are going to win in the future are the ones that just understand people. And it sounds basic, but to your point, the knowledge isn't going to matter as much anymore. It's what you do with them.
The rich countries that are out there are the first ones to retire their entire civilization and people. Is that crazy talk? Or do you see that as potentially being a reality in the next generation?
I don't think it's crazy talk, but I think it's dangerous because...
Hi there, and welcome to Roll with Steve. Before we get started, a quick favor. If you enjoyed these conversations, hit that subscribe button and join our community. I've got a bold goal to grow this channel to 10,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. And together, I know we can make that happen. So I appreciate your support. My commitment to you is to create new content weekly with talented guests that will help you grow personally and professionally. Also, drop a comment with your thoughts. I read every single one. If you find value here, a quick like or share helps others find the show. Thanks. And let's roll into today's episode. Welcome back to the Roll with Steve podcast. I've got Ishita Agrawal with me today. And ChatGPT's been out for 2.5 years?
It's crazy.
Since I think it was December of 21 or 22, whenever it was that it came on my radar. And I don't know what I would do without it.
Oh, yes.
Now.
It makes me 3x what I can do.
Okay, how do you feel about the fact that 2.5 years in, you're a daily user, and then it's a large percentage of the population that still has never messed with anything AI at all? It's okay to be early adopters and all that, but most people aren't even trying to use it.
Yeah. I don't think everyone has a need for it, right? In its current capabilities, it's very white collar tech people that are writing emails and creating content and need to do a lot of research. Most of the world doesn't need to do those things, if I'm a single mom, working 4 jobs, just trying to make ends meet, I'm not writing emails. Why would I need ChatGPT for that? But I think very soon, ChatGPT will become something like ChatGPT will become the way we engage with things like Google today and the internet. It just becomes the new frontier or the interface for the internet.
Yeah.
And it's actually always been this way. In consulting, we always used to show this chart of emerging technologies and how they were adopted. And there was always 2 things that we would highlight. There were basically these little line graphs, and it was from the 1900s to present day. And every line represented a transformational technology that was introduced. Things like the TV or the computer, refrigerators back in the day, and then obviously like much more recent technology like drones and 3D printing and all that good stuff now. And there were two things that always happened. One, you saw that the time in between transformative technologies emerging was shrinking. So there was more and more and more like truly transformational technology coming into play much more quickly than they're used to in the past.
Yeah.
In addition to that, the adoption of that technology, the curves used to kind of be sloping like a little bit, but now you would see that they just kind of go exponentially very quickly. So the adoption of transformational technologies are also exponentially increasing, which means that we just keep having to keep up, which I find really fascinating.
Yeah.
With something like ChatGPT, for sure, like it's not even like generative AI, LLMs, they've all kind of been around for a long time. And going back to the point that it's not about the technology, it's about the people. A lot of tech companies had access to LLMs and they were using them internally. But there was never a interface or like a use case that mattered for the everyday person. And I think the question becomes, how do we now channel this technology to now be useful for the everyday person? And we're not there yet, but we will get there very soon.
I think you're right about that. Have you read The Rational Optimist?
No.
Okay.
I haven't even heard of that one.
I got put onto it by a friend and I only read half of it.
Okay.
But it insinuates some of the things that you just talked about. The hyper commoditization of technology and the space in between these huge what was the word that you used there?
Transformational technologies.
Transformational technologies. Yeah. I love that. Think about the invention of like electricity and the first light bulb to the next greater technology to that of the LED and how much time there was in between that. And you see where like we're at today when we talk about CEOs saying that software jobs are going to go away.
Yeah.
Some of them are even more obvious where you can say, okay, anyone who's in logistics, who's actually driving a vehicle of any type, at some point humans will be like more dangerous than the computer controlling it. I already feel like my Tesla is there, where it's more dangerous for me to control it than for just going to full self-driving. So all those jobs go away. And as I'm thinking about where I want to position for the next decade, it's hard to think through industries that aren't going to be seriously impacted or potentially just go away because of advances in artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And right now I'm stuck on manufacturing because we will always have to consume goods. I think there's opportunities there to use artificial intelligence to further advantages in manufacturing.
For sure.
But the process of making things that get consumed, that's at least here for a while until the AI gets to the point that we're all like robot brains and we don't do fun things anymore and we don't consume food anymore. But where else is safe in your opinion right now? Well, first of all, do you agree in my assessment on manufacturing? And then where else is safe?
See, okay, this is my take on AI. And I love the term rational optimist, I think you called it, because I think that's very much my take on technology. I was actually having this conversation with some friends, and we were talking about how a lot of people are afraid that AI is going to take over. It's going to take over all these jobs. And it will. Like, it will take over a lot of jobs. But I think what it does is it frees up humankind to focus on other things. I'll give my own example, right? Like, I didn't realize how much time I spend on writing in a day. And like, I have the thought, I know what I'm going to say, but the actual execution of putting it on paper and articulating it in a way that I'm happy with, I didn't realize how much of my day that takes. And now with ChatGPT, it takes seconds, minutes, like whatever it is. I'm just able to do so much more, and I'm able to focus on more important things and like spend my day thinking about things that I should be thinking about as a founder and a CEO. It just makes space in my life for things. And now imagine that happens at the level of like the human race, right? Like, we're not focused on the things that are just things that need to get done and just take a lot of time. It makes space in our lives to now focus on things that we haven't had the time, resources, headspace to be thinking about. So you brought up the idea of like going to the moon and like living on Mars, or people talk about exploring our oceans or whatever that frontier is. It's no longer this like thing that we'll figure out at some point, because now we have the time. Like, let's go figure that thing out, because all this stuff, like, we got it. Like, the technology is taking care of it. I don't have to worry about it. Let me go over there and figure that out.
Yeah. John Adams, I think, famously said, "I study war so that my children can study the arts."
Yeah, I love that.
There's some correlations here of you're playing with AI so that the kids of the next generation, the generation after that, can, I guess, will like make better movies and the things to entertain ourselves, but also so much more exploration that of course we can do. But I kind of want to encourage my kids to go into the arts, because I feel like that's going to be where they get the most bang for their buck. And I love the thought exercise of, can we replace the human derived portion of our GDP completely with AI in the next generation, so that nobody really has to work? And it's kind of like the rich countries that are out there are the first ones to retire their entire civilization and people. Is that crazy talk? Or do you see that as potentially being a reality in the next generation?
I don't think it's crazy talk, but I think it's dangerous, because people without purpose, I think, is a dangerous thing. We talk about work as if like my 40-hour work week, I don't want to be going. Like, I get the Monday blues and just sad about it all the time. But work gives us purpose, and it's really important. And I think I've felt the difference between like going to a job and now doing something I really love and care about. And I feel like I'm bringing something new into this world. I think what AI enables us to do is get rid of the boring 40-hour work week. And maybe those things just kind of take care of themselves. And it enables people to focus on the things that they love. And maybe it's the arts, maybe it's other technology, maybe it's space exploration, maybe it's whatever it is that kind of brings that joy to your life. I don't know if you've ever seen the Pixar movie Soul.
I haven't seen it, no.
I recommend watching it. It's a really cute story, basically about the journey of a soul. So like when you die, the soul goes off into like some sort of heaven type place. And the concept is that every soul comes to Earth with a purpose. Like there's something that is like your like dharma, like it's your duty. Like this is what you were put on Earth to do.
Sure.
And it could be things like music. It could be art. It could be creating billion-dollar companies. It could be just spending time with your friends and family. But there's like something that just is the core of who you are. And the way that we've kind of created society today sucks a lot of that away. You just don't have time, right? Like if you're trying to make ends meet, your 40-hour work week is going to take over your entire life, and you don't have time to like play piano and go with your band and do the things that you love.
Yeah. Now,
what if we took that 40-hour work week away and you actually had the space to do the thing that you were put here to do? And I love that concept. Like we all have those things we do where we just kind of get lost. Like you're playing music or you're reading a book or you're creating art or you're even, for me, sometimes like building PowerPoints. Like I just get into this moment of flow.
Yeah.
And you connect with like, okay, like this is my purpose. Like there's something I'm really doing here. And I love the idea that AI just frees us up to do those things all the time.
It's wild because 10 years ago, I watched a documentary that made the claim that 93% of people derive the majority of their self-worth from what they do for a living, from their employment. 93%.
Wow.
Now, say what you will about those stats and audit them. That's the claim that they made. And they were using it in the context of convicts getting out of prison and the recidivism rates of them going back in, those who were gainfully employed versus those who were not.
Yeah.
And then putting programs in place based on this research to get people who are coming out and about to reinstitute themselves into society. Let's give you a job to do something to both help out the community, but also to get some self-worth. And in the documentary, they were picking up garbage in New York City, you know, and that's the last 6 months of being incarcerated. And then every day they would go out and they would go back to prison the other day. But they were interviewing them about like, my life never had any purpose before. Yeah. That's why I was doing these things that got me here. And now, like, I make New York City a cleaner place, which you live in New York, it can use some of that, you know? Like, the times I've been there, it can use a little bit more of that. But you see the fulfillment in someone who was lacking that purpose, getting it from their employment. I see some of your concern then. Yeah. If this truly happens and these jobs that we think about today that we need them, even the mundane 40-hour work week to do goes away. It's like the job or don't like the job. Yeah. Were you getting self-worth? Are we going to have like a massive wave of depression going over people because, well, that job's not needed. And then the job they promised you would have because of the technology that AI took over that 6 months later. Yeah. It's like we retrained you for nothing. Like it's all happening and capitulating so quickly. Yeah. Now that the thing that replaces the job you had because of AI now gets replaced because of AI.
I think humans are really resilient. And we've seen this before. This isn't new, right? When the internet came about, there was always going to be a transition that happens, and there's always going to be some hard parts of like what that transition looks like, and some folks that unfortunately get a short end of the stick when that transition's happening. I just think humans just find ways to persevere always. And I don't think it's depression. I think we're just going to be like, whoa, I don't have to sit in this chair in like an Excel spreadsheet for 40 hours a week. Now, what else can I do with those 40 hours? And I tend to believe that people are imaginative, and if you give them the freedom of just like, don't worry about this, just like focus on something that is a passion or something, like pull at these random threads in your life and something cool will come out of it. I think we're just giving people the space to do that. Now, what that means is the jobs of the future look very different. So we're not going to have like spreadsheet jobs and like you're writing emails all day, and like people's day-to-day is going to look very different. But I actually hope that it's a happier society because we're actually compensating people for doing things that they love and not things that just like have to happen.
One way for us to play this out, and I really want to hit home how fast the AI is moving, because I was doing this thought exercise. The TAPP is the new version of Help AR, which is your original company. Yep. Give me the 30-second version of what Help AR was, just so we can establish that baseline.
Like I mentioned, I'm a huge tech nerd, so I was a big fan of AR and VR, and I still am. So we wanted to create the how-to app for everything. So you kind of see a little bit of similarities in how we pivoted it to TAPP, but the idea was you could point your phone at any object in the world, let's say a printer or a coffee maker, etc. And if you had a question of like, how do I brew this coffee, or my printer is jammed and there's a light flashing at me, I don't know what to do with it, on your screen, you would actually see instructions basically overlaid on the product itself. So you would point your phone up to the printer and it would say, okay, cool, your printer is jammed. So press this button right here, open this drawer, and you should be good to go. And the funny thing is we got the technology working. We were basically creating this really interesting way of scaling augmented reality experiences with LLMs, even got a patent out of it, which was pretty cool. But the business model didn't quite make sense. I don't think the world was ready yet to like just go out there and put this on every product out there. But yeah, it was pretty cool. I still think it's going to be the future at some point, but it's a future that's maybe a little bit farther away than I was hoping it would be.
Well, let's play that out, because I was playing with this label printer, which is right over there, on the other side of the studio, the other day, and I got stuck on it. I had to hop on chat support with the company that makes it. And we're going back and forth, and of course they're troubleshooting it with me, and they're asking me to do all the things that I already did to troubleshoot it. Yeah. You know, like
that's the worst.
The power was on. Yeah. Yes, I already tried that. Yeah. And you go back and forth on it, and I think, man, first off, I can't even send them a video in the chat. You can send them a picture, but not a video. And the question that they're asking is like, dude, if I could just send you a video of me doing it, and you'll see how the paper comes out the wrong way, and you'll see what the problem is. But I'm trying to describe this to you with my words. Well, let's take the human out of it altogether. If I don't even send a video, I take my phone through augmented reality AR, I point it there, and without having to go talk to the company, they've already overlaid this with your Help AR technology on, okay, this is the issue. Here's how you fix it. Push this button, try this, try that. So now I'm troubleshooting it on my own time. So, okay, I love the concept of where that goes, because everything from my video editing software, I can imagine I'm trying to figure out how to learn to video edit, and I just overlay your software on top of this, and it tells me, okay, click this, do this. And the next step of it is, okay, instead of me having to click it, when it tells me to click it, I just tell it what I want it to do, and it does it. I can have a conversation with it. Let's play it all the way out now. If you were to build that technology today, with as fast as AI is advancing, we talk about those steps of, like, you do it, the computer tells you what to do, you tell the computer what you want it to do, and then the computer knows what you want it to do, and it does it automatically. How long would that technology be existing if you were to teach people how to use the video editing software or fix the printer before the AI is just doing it? I mean, it's got to be a couple of years tops, right? That would exist. Yeah. Is that crazy to say?
A lot of it you can do already. I don't know if you've ever been playing with software, or even your label maker. If you had just gone to ChatGPT and turned on the multimodal mode, oftentimes, if you just are showing it with your camera, it can diagnose the problem for you and tell you how to fix it.
I'm already mind blown. So first, multimodal mode. What is that, and how do I find it on ChatGPT?
Just videos. So you can just upload a video, or I think on the app itself, you can actually show real-time video. My CTO was telling me that he was visiting his parents and something was wrong with their toilet, and he's not a plumber. He didn't know how to fix it. He just turned on ChatGPT and it walked him through how to fix whatever problem they were having.
That's so wild.
A lot of it's already happening. It's not the AR experience, but still very close to what that looks like. In the software world, when we're using Figma or any of these random softwares that are so complicated at times when you're trying to do one very specific thing, the first thing I do is go to ChatGPT and I'm like, hey, help me figure this out. And it will actually tell you step by step, hey, go to the file, go to this option, press this button, and you should be good to go. So we're 90% of the way there. The only thing that's left is the agentic part of what you're saying. Sure. So how do you actually action against that in that moment? And I know some great companies that are working on that as we speak. So I think it would be in the next year that we have technology like that.
If you were to go to the average investor who's not smart in this space and say, any program, any device, any software, we can give you the how-to guide to do it, and it's through augmented reality, and it shows you exactly what to do. That sounds phenomenal until you introduce the agentic side of it, where you say, okay, but you can't even get a 2-year shelf life on this before it just human knowledge and learning how to do stuff isn't really important anymore. Nope. Or at least it won't be. But it's funny that it's still important for me to learn how to do that editing software today. I still need the help on that. But 2 years from now, these companies talk about they cracked the code on that. Yeah. That was a waste of my time to learn how to do that because it wasn't necessary. I think about the knowledge that I built up specifically in e-commerce and specifically on Amazon back in 2015, 16, 17, that put me so far ahead of my competitors in my industry who weren't leaning into it. Right. And then I walked through a trade show this week and I see a couple AI booths that have 1 million times more knowledge than I ever had. But all the stuff that I thought made me special back in 2020, you can get it now for $15 a month. Yeah. And anyone has access to this, which then adds to the level of saturation and commoditization of that knowledge being a differentiator. It's a scary thing for people to think through when they go through these types of thought exercises where they say, well, Ish, where should I position? Yeah. What do I tell my kids to study when they're in college? Because this is problematic. Yeah. You have an AI dermatologist that you've built in your company. Yeah. Help me square if my cousin's in medical school right now to be a dermatologist. Yeah. How are they going to pay out their student loans on the back end of this?
It's a great question. I think what doesn't go away is people interacting with people. So the folks that are going to win in the future are the ones that just understand people. And it sounds basic, but to your point, the knowledge isn't going to matter as much anymore. It's what you do with that knowledge, right? So you're saying like, okay, all these people know the information that I knew, but you actually know what to do with it because you understand people, you understand what you're trying to get accomplished. And it kind of goes back to the same concept of like when people, I think in the future, the folks that are purely technical and they're executors in technical domains, they're not going to be able to keep up with the technical folks or even just normal folks that just understand what to do. So your cousins that are dermatologists, like sure, this AI dermatologist can tell a patient this is what's wrong with them and here's what you should recommend, et cetera. But that people element of, okay, well, I'm a doctor and I am talking to this patient and I'm giving them the care and support that they need. And I understand not just, okay, this is kind of what you need to do, but the holistic, like, here's all the things, here are your hopes and dreams, and here's what you're trying to accomplish. That personal connection doesn't go away. Yeah. It enables them to focus on the personal connection and the person in front of them rather than like racking their brains of all of the other information that they need to pull to answer the person's question. So I don't know. I think I'm optimistic that we're going to be in a better society where we just care about each other more because that's how you engage. Like there's no one who's just super smart just for the sake of being smart.
Yeah. I miss the days when the knowledge was a differentiator. And I'm sure a lot of people that go through the transition that I think I saw this coming a few years ago where like they have to find other ways to innovate in order to stay ahead because everyone's just going to have access to immense amounts of knowledge. The one thing I will say, I used to tell people, and I didn't understand, so why don't you just Google this? If I get someone on Twitter that comes in and asks me a question that I think is like, well, that's a dumb question. Why don't you just Google this? I'm going to Google it and give you the answer that I got on Google. Right. And then it hit me like, you know what? My bullshit radar, because of the context and knowledge, is different than yours, where I can know what Google says in context and know if it's right or if it's wrong. This whole AI conversation to me is one that's ongoing. It partially scares me, partially more than scares, terrifies me. And the other piece of me is so excited about where the world's going. I, for one, as an investor and as an operator, still want to make sure that I'm positioned in the right spot. But for anyone who's out there who has a job that's thinking through like what this could potentially do to them, there's ways for them to lean into spaces that are at least safe for now, to pivot into the industry that they're going to be able to, as a human, still add value to the process for the time being. The government moving as slow as it does probably is going to help this out and make it a much more smooth transition. But for some of those jobs that are out there, like the trucking, the logistics, I think about like pilots in the sky and how long the government forces there to be a human there when I hear from the one pilot that I know, it's like, well, it doesn't really need us at this point. Like we're just there in case something catastrophic happens. And we see wonder like, wow. But it's one of those episodes that I think people will look back on in the future for the things you're going to talk about here today and say, oh my God, she was so right. Like, how did I not think about this sooner? How was everyone looking at this the wrong way? And I'm talking about the post-purchase side of direct-to-consumer and something that you're innovating on in your company right now to build on this concept that you've said to me a couple times before that I really like, which is retention is the new growth. Yes. So by way of introduction, can you break down what you mean by that for me?
Yeah, so for years now in the world of commerce, the game has been acquisition. So brands are spending over 50% of their budgets on advertising on Meta. Now there's TikTok, advertising in offline channels like billboards, et cetera, just because you're trying to acquire these customers. There was also a big wave of DTC over the last couple of years. When Shopify launched, it now just was an equalizer where anyone could start a great brand, bring it into people's homes, and people can just start buying all these cool products that they've never heard of before, which was awesome. But now it also means that there's so much competition. Every niche of every product that's available, there's at least 50 different types of it that you can buy, which means that the cost of acquisition has just gone through the roof. And I'll give you an example. In the beauty space, the average cost of acquisition is around $61, which is oftentimes higher than the purchase price of the product itself.
Yeah.
So brands are losing money on their first customer if they never buy from them again. And I don't see that trend going anywhere else. It's just going to continue to become more expensive. And what's happening is that brands have to make a decision. At some point, if you're in your DTC journey, you're going to hit a threshold and you have to decide if you're going to go omnichannel, start selling in Amazon, start going into retail. You have to find other channels to grow because DTC is just not going to continue to be the lever that it has been for a long time. What we're saying is, yes, you should go omnichannel and you should go into Amazon. But the new issue that introduces is it completely eliminates your relationship with your customer. They're finding you in these great locations and volume is great, but now they have no idea what your brand stands for. They know what your product is, but the brand beyond it is kind of a stranger to these customers and such a big part of what brands are trying to create, their brand. So in my opinion, and I don't see it going any other way, retention is going to be the most important growth lever for brands going forward. There's no other option.
I find it so interesting because for newer companies that are starting off, you master one sales channel.
Yes.
Like no one comes in thinking about omni-channel. You got one down and you can penetrate that as far as you can get into. And then all of a sudden the growth stops in that channel and you realize, okay, I've reached a level of saturation. The companies that you're referring to start off on that direct-to-consumer Shopify side of the house where they own that entire relationship. The world I come from is more the third-party marketplaces, the Amazons, the Walmarts, I guess now the TikTok shops, who haven't even really taken that direct-to-consumer side of it just yet. But you're right, you say omni-channel, having to be present on all those platforms and then thinking about retail and the retail customer that gets it. I mean, what kind of brand experience can they expect to have today if a brand goes from direct-to-consumer and then they launch in retail? They're now in Macy's. Yeah. I see it for the first time in Macy's. I picked that product up, think, that's going to solve my problem. Fantastic. I get it because Macy's is vouching for it. I don't need the whole brand experience. What forum does that brand have to interact with me whatsoever at all if I met them for the first time in Macy's?
Yeah.
You know, like that's a significant problem that you've identified for these brands. And everyone wants to go omni-channel, but to be able to still grow while going omni-channel and have that same level of control. Is that the aspect that makes people so interested who are in direct-to-consumer and they get this shock of like, I bought it in Macy's, I bought it on Amazon, and they're like, well, I don't even know who that person is anymore. How to even contact them, how to interact with them, get them to come back. Is that the big resonation point for you?
I think there's two ways I think about resonance. And there's resonance for brands, which are our customers, and then there's resonance for their customers, which at the end of the day is the user that we think most about. So if you think about the last time that you bought something, exactly what you said, you bought something in Macy's, you see the packaging, but beyond that, you don't really understand much about the brand. Oftentimes you have questions. Let's say you bought supplements or skincare or whatever it is. There's a lot of questions you have about how do I make this work for me? And maybe I saw an ad somewhere and I kind of know a little bit about this product, but I don't know how to use it properly. I don't know how consistent I need to be with it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The resonance for them is it should be right on the product. Something that we talk to brands often about is you talk about omnichannel and the kind of key things you think about are DTC, Amazon marketplaces, retail, and all of the usual suspects. But the one channel that brands never think about is their product. It is a channel. When someone has your product in their hands, that is the moment that they're most excited to engage with you. So why wouldn't you use that as a moment of connection with your customer? And I think by making that moment feel magical for the consumer, the resonance is always there for the brands. I mean, when we talk to brands and I can tell them, hey, I can bring these anonymous, offline, invisible customers into focus for you. That's enough. Like, they want to know who their customers are. They've spent all of these resources trying to build brands that matter.
Yeah.
And people are buying their stuff, which is great. But how do you expand that customer from a one-time buyer into someone who loves your product and just continues to buy from you over and over again?
Well, talk to me about what brands are doing before they meet you in order to get that retention, to grow that customer and increase the lifetime value. Like, what are they doing today?
So in omnichannel, it's tough because you don't know who those customers are. There's a few things brands have tried. They've put QR codes on products that lead to their websites. That doesn't work. QR codes have scan rates of between 1% to 4% on average. So yes, you're trying to connect with that customer, but it's not working. It's not a great way to connect. In addition to that, they'll have loyalty programs, and some sort of reward system that they're trying to get that customer to be part of your ecosystem. But again, you have to assume your customer is going to go to your website to even find that it's there. With some products, you can do warranties, and that might be an interesting mechanism to get people to come back, give you their email and phone number, and register their product in some ways. But obviously, that doesn't work for every product out there. But the number one way that people think about retention and just kind of a post-purchase experience is customer service. And brands do spend money on that channel, but they see it as a cost center rather than an engine for growth.
Okay.
Which I also think is a mistake. I think amazing customer service can supercharge your revenue and growth in ways that brands wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
But all of these things are not an experience. They're all just kind of like one-off things that brands are enabling for their customers and hoping that they come to find them. And I often tell brands, hope is not a strategy. You can't just hope someone's going to come and find you. You have to create an easy way for them to engage with you because they want to. They want to know about the brand that they just bought from. But there just isn't an easy way for them to do it today.
Yeah. And you talk about the customer being most interested in the brand when they're using the product versus I'm email marketing a customer 3 times a day and like, dude, I'm at work. Like I'm not thinking about the product you sold me right now.
Yeah.
So does that resonate with brands that you talk to about customers when they're using the product being most interested in it?
It ends up being kind of an aha moment. And I think in the startup journey, you kind of forget when your insight is like actually something unique that people don't think about. So for us, every day is about, yes, creating a really great moment for customers when they're using their products. When I talk to brands for the first time and I offer that insight, without fail, it's kind of like like, you're right. Like, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
And then that's when we launch into your product is your channel. You can send all the emails you want. You can send all the SMS messages you want. You can do anything. But the moment that they're 100% engaged with you is when they're using your product.
Yeah. We get all these old school tactics. I got this theory that email marketing worked really well for one person and they made $100 million off of it. And then everyone says, oh, I'll go and start doing that. And we all have email inboxes full of spam.
Right.
But I'm not saying it doesn't work. Like, I still think about that company when I see the email come in, and it's still a great tactic to use. I heard someone say that it's still the best tactic to use in order to stay top of mind for customers outside of text messaging. But you talk about the loyalty programs and the warranties and customer service, all things that somebody made $100 million off of using it as a channel, and now it's completely saturated, but everyone's doing the exact same stuff.
Yes.
So what are you advocating through your company that these brands do differently for the brands of the future?
You know, I disagree with the concept of wanting to stay top of mind for your customer. I understand the thought behind it, but I'm not thinking about the brands I'm purchasing from when I'm eating dinner or I'm hanging out with my friends or I'm driving somewhere. The key for you as a brand is to make me think about you when I'm ready to make my next purchase in that category. So that applies to everything, right? Snacks, beverages, skincare, supplements. There's always going to be a moment where I'm like, okay, I need to buy this thing again. And that's the moment you want to make sure that they're thinking about you.
Sure.
You're never going to be top of mind for them forever. So what we advocate for is, again, just kind of going back to when they're using your product every day, you're already kind of top of mind. turn that into a delightful experience with the brand. And that's what's going to stick. I feel like we live in a very transactional world of commerce where we're just sending these emails and we're hoping that at some point they remember us and then they want to purchase from us again. And there's some psychology to that. I'm not saying there isn't. But I think the future of commerce is emotional, and it already is becoming that way. Consumers care about the brands that they're purchasing from. That's happened for years, and it's just becoming more and more important to future generations. So how do you create an emotional connection with that customer where they think about you and there's a moment of joy that it's like, oh yeah, like I bought from that brand and I had this great experience with them. So delight. I mean, it seems so basic, but that's what we're advocating for.
Yeah. What comes to mind for me when you say that is a thought process of going from B2B, where everyone knows in B2B, it's relationship-based selling.
Yes.
And then direct to consumer, D2C, it's like, well, there's no relationship. You're just buying a product. You're just solving a problem. That product pops up at the right time. You get it. It solves your problem. Like, that's it. There's no relationship that's there. This, in many ways, sounds like you're bridging the gap between the D2C world where there is no relationship to say, well, maybe there should be a relationship. People still want to buy from people and have a relationship with that brand and feel something and emote from that. Is that what you're talking about with this?
Yeah, I mean, I'll ask you a question. What is a product that you've bought in your life where you're like, I just freaking love that brand?
Yeah, I'll tell you, this is so easy for me because I consume 2 of these things a day, and it's those grape Zevia drinks that every time I drink one, I think I'm going to get tired of this, and it never gets old.
And is it the flavor? Like, what is it about the Zevia that you love?
A lot of brands have tried to knock off soda in a healthy way, and it doesn't taste like what it's supposed to taste like. Yep. Zevia hasn't done it for all of their flavors.
Okay.
The Coke is close. The ginger ale is close. The one that seems like it's so close to the soda that I used to love as a kid, that Welch's grape soda, is the grape Zevia. It tastes to me almost identical, and I can see that it's clear. There's nothing added in there. I think that, I'm not saying it's healthy for me. I don't think it's bad for me.
Yeah.
But they really cracked the code on getting an experience that I love. Yeah. That means something to me, that reminds me of this little emotional kid who's like 7 years old drinking a grape soda with his dad, or eating pizza. They cracked the code on that. It's the flavor and how consistent it is, but also me thinking this might be healthy for me.
I love that. So what I'm hearing you say is they were able to create an emotional connection with you back to your childhood through their product.
Yes.
Right? It's not the emails that they've sent you. It's not some ad that you saw on Instagram or TikTok, whatever. It's truly the experience of delight that you had with that product itself. And the question is, how do you create that moment for more brands?
Yeah.
They exist. I'm sure that there's at least 15 to 20 other brands that you purchase from that you can create a similar emotional connection with. But maybe their product isn't experiential in the same way that beverages are, or you just haven't had the time or bandwidth to go searching for the ethos behind like why that brand made the decisions they did and what the founder story is, et cetera. And I would be willing to bet that if something like TAPP becomes standard, you would have at least 5 to 10 brands that you're like, yes, Ish, like this one and that one and this one. And I love what they're doing because of X, Y, and Z reasons.
Yeah. It's funny to me that you hear like the story behind something. Once you've purchased it and you loved it, you want to know more about it. Yeah. And when you know more about it, you become an evangelist for that. I can't tell you how many people I've told about like grape Zevia and they you got to try this flavor, like this particular one from this company. So with that in mind, tell me about the TAPP, your company, and how you're helping people to solve this problem. And like forewarning on this, I believe this is like the company of the future in this space that every brand should be looking at this as a solution. What do you guys do to help brands with that?
So we are a platform that helps brands connect with their anonymous offline customers by turning their products into tappable experiences. So going back to what we've been talking about, the moment that customers want to engage with you is when they're using your products. We turn that into the delightful experience it should be. So when someone buys a product, there's a little sticker somewhere on the packaging, blends in very seamlessly. The customer can tap on it just like Apple Pay, and it launches this whole web-based experience. So there's no downloading an app or anything like that. It kind of looks like an Instagram Explore feed, but is fully curated for the brand. And as we learn more about each user, it becomes personalized to that person. So the theory behind kind of the actual hub that we're creating if you looked at your Instagram, you looked at my Instagram, it looks very different.
Sure.
So why is it that when I'm engaging with a brand, you and I get the exact same content? You're probably someone that enjoys community-driven content, or you like engaging with other people that have also purchased a Zevia and love it. Or maybe I'm someone that loves gamified experiences, or I'm just a very practical person. We should be seeing the content that's most interesting and relevant to us. So with a simple tap on a product, customers get access to any content that's most interesting to them, and brands are getting access to zero and first party data that they've just never had access to before.
What does that data look like specifically for these brands? Like, what are they getting that they don't have before?
They have nothing today. So if you think about omnichannel, but we start with getting you emails and phone numbers of customers you didn't know you had. From there, it's all behavioral and preferences data. So when you come to the hub, there's all sorts of content that customers can engage with. You're learning why they bought the product. You're learning what type of content they're most interested in and what is drawing their attention. You're learning about how often they're actually using your product, which is also invaluable for brands. You're learning about if they are folks that understand like why your brand matters and where they should be going with it. You are understanding if they want to purchase more products from you. It's a full experience that just exists post-purchase for them.
Yeah. It's just interesting to me because my world starts with the marketplaces.
Yeah.
And I think about how little data I've had on the majority of my customers on Amazon or a Walmart.
Yep.
They mask the names now. They used to give you the full address, and now you only get city, state, and zip code, so you can pay your sales tax. They give you like the bare minimum on that. Versus someone on Shopify who gets all the experience, and that brand sees like where the customer came from, what they clicked on, what they were interested in. So you have some of those data points. I often think about your solution for brands that have zero data on their customers as, man, just getting an email and a phone number would be awesome as a starting point before we even get to the rest of that data. That's me and the majority of the Amazon specific or Walmart, TikTok brands that are out there that this is a clear solution for. But I want to dig in more into that other data because it's stuff that most people in my world, I don't think are thinking about those consumer preferences and being able to look at the data of what they're clicking on, what they're engaging with. And it seems like, well, you can probably optimize that experience for pretty much anyone based on what their interests are so that everyone gets a unique experience. How do you know that they get a unique experience? How do you track that person to make sure that when I tap on it, I get my experience and not yours? And then what does that look like for the brand on the back end of receiving that data?
So you receive data on any click that happens on this platform. So the way that the experience is set up, there's a bunch of little widgets that exist on your screen. And those widgets lead to different types of experiences. So there's tutorials, there's AI chat support, there's games, there's quizzes, people can leave reviews. Basically, any way that a customer might want to engage with you exists on this platform. So the brand is getting all sorts of data on what modules people are engaging with, how far they're making it in those modules. If there's quizzes, you're learning about the answers to those quiz questions that you're asking. So there's all sorts of information there. Now, brands will get a data dump and a dashboard of all of that information as it is useful for them. But our goal is to put it on autopilot. Why do you need all that information? What you really want is to make sure that your customer is seeing the content that's most relevant and interesting to them. The same as Instagram, right? Like brands trust Meta and TikTok that they have this kind of internal algorithm that's just kind of surfacing the right content to the right person at the right time. And we want to do the exact same thing. You'll have access to the data if you want it, but we want to put it on autopilot. Brands have so much to do. They already have way too many things to worry about. The question just becomes like, how do we put retention on autopilot for them? You guys acquire the customers. We'll do the rest with the retention.
It's such a cool thing to tap on a product and have the experience. So the times that I've used it, I remember even showing my wife one day on a skincare product, and she goes, "Oh, why is there a sticker on it?" And I go, "Well, just tap it with your phone and you'll find out." And she's like, "I don't know that I'm interested." I'm like, "Just tap it with your phone and you'll see." She taps with her phone. She goes, "Oh, that's cool because this experience pops up And all of a sudden now she's in this zone where she can see like the skincare quiz, and she can see how she can earn points towards getting free stuff from the brand. And she's seen all the information for the brand. That, I think, had the feeling to her of like, how is that even possible that you tap it and then this happens? You've told me about your love of magic as a kid and your desire to turn technology today into magic, and that technological experience for people that maybe they're kind of the same thing. Yeah. Like technology to one person is magic to somebody else. This feels a lot like that, but where does that love of magic come from for you? And is that what's kind of driving you to kind of make this experience feel that way for consumers?
Absolutely. I mean, the story I always tell is I was a big Harry Potter nerd growing up. So in fourth grade, I think it was the fifth book or something that was coming out, and my parents took me to a Barnes & Noble book launch. So I was super excited. And while you were waiting in line, there was a little area you could go to where you take a little wand and you point it at a light bulb, you yell Lumos, and the light bulb lights up. And in fourth grade, when that happened, I was like, cool, like I'm quitting school tomorrow. I'm a wizard. I'm ready to go to Hogwarts. Like, sorry, mom and dad, can't come with me, whatever. And obviously, as I've grown up, I realized why that worked, right? It's IoT devices, you're connecting through a Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, and it's enabling that light bulb to light up. But I still couldn't really understand why that's not magic. I mean, I didn't touch the light bulb. I pointed this wand and the light bulb lit up. Just because I understand how it works, why is that not magic? So that experience has always really stuck with me. And I find magic in everyday places. I think technology is scientifically crafted magic, is what I call it. And it happens in everyday life. Like when you are talking to Siri or Alexa and you're asking what the weather's going to be today, or what the news is for the day, you're talking to a device as if you're talking to a human being. Yeah. There's just or like the drones when you're watching a football game and you're like, you feel like you're right there actually watching it. You're like flying with the drone trying to see whatever's going on. I think technology brings magical experiences for people. We just get used to it and then we don't see it that way just because we understand how it works. But I've never seen it that way. And my whole career, I've just kind of been in the pursuit of creating that like magic moment for people, because there's no feeling like the exact feeling your wife had. You tapped on this thing and you're like, whoa, like that was really cool. Now everything I need is right here. Yeah. And it just makes me really happy to see people do that.
Well, you're a Harry Potter nerd. I'm a bit of an Ancient Aliens nerd. You ever seen that show before?
I have, yes.
Okay, so History Channel, I love it. It's pretty kooky and out there, but I like to wonder. Yeah. They like to relate that so much of what you see in mythology is real stuff that happened, and people saw it and thought it was magic. Yes. Because they didn't have the words to describe what was happening. And it feels to me a lot like what I saw go in my wife's eyes when she tapped it and it popped up and it was like, this is awesome. Yeah. Like I like the whole experience around that to then be able to go and experience that with the brand. That was cool to experience with her. I think brands of the future that are thinking about, do we stick with the stuff that's been working and just continue to do the email marketing and the SMS, and we bump up our loyalty program in the face of saturation of those different styles of trying to get a customer to be retained? Talk to me about what you think the brands of the future have to be doing in the next 2 to 3 years with AI coming around the corner. Yeah. Who's going to fall behind and why?
I think brands are really going to have to pay attention to their customers. There's so much that's going on in the world of brands. You're dealing with product and marketing and acquisition and finances. And I get it. There's a lot that's going on. But you have to put yourself in the shoes of your consumer to really understand what they need. And it's not just your product. It's the experience that comes with your product itself. I also think that brands need to be more honest with themselves, that you've created all this great content and you're making the assumption that all of your customers are seeing all your content. Therefore, they're using your product correctly, they're really excited about buying from you again, etc. I think in the world that we live in today, in the world we will live in the next 2 to 3 years, the brands that will win are the ones that really understand their customer and want to make sure that they get the full package, no matter what. It doesn't matter if you're a DTC customer. It doesn't matter if you bought me on Amazon. It doesn't matter if you found me somewhere random on the street. But let me give you the full package. It's not just about my product. It's about the entire brand experience that comes with it. And the brands that do that right are the ones that are going to win.
Do you think that brands of the future are going to have the ability to speak directly to their customers and customers talk back by using some type of like an AI chatbot or something where the customers are actually talking to the brand and it's being like deciphered and action taken on that? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. We're already doing that today. We are able to train some sort of AI bot, whether it's a voice chat or like a physical chat, on the brand voice and the ethos of what that brand stands for. So people are literally able to talk to the brand as if it's another person that they're texting. The brand has a personality. Every brand you see like could be a human. Like if you put some human features to it, you could create an actual person out of those brands. So you should be able to speak to them as if they were just another person, just like Alexa, just like Siri. Maybe in the future, you can just be like, hey, brand, like, tell me about this. You are now my expert on that category of my life.
But interesting conversations. I love what you're doing with your company and how you're changing the game for brands to be able to have this growth strategy that is retention in the face of, you said $61 of acquisition for beauty brands.
Yeah.
I'm involved in a beauty brand. Like I felt that acquisition cost, right? But once you get beyond the acquisition, the ability for your company to help out to retain those customers. I've never been involved in something that wasn't repeat business. And in my most successful businesses, 75% of the revenue comes from repeat purchases that come through. So I know every brand out there that hears that like resonates with like, yes, like retaining that customer is so much more important than going after the new ones. You got to do both, but a major emphasis maybe should be on retention. So thanks for coming on today and sharing all of this. Like, I love what you have to say, and it was great having you on.
Thanks so much, Steve. This was so fun. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely.